Howdy, y'all. Welcome to another episode of CardBlitz. I'm your host, Kelly Reed. This is episode 70, and I'm joined by my good friend, John Sermon. John, how's it going?
Excellent, Kelly. I'm glad to be back on. So this is good stuff.
Dude, I'm gonna nerd out because today is the day for Star Wars. I am so nerding out with this episode, but it's gonna be more than just Star Wars. So let's talk about you for a minute, man. What's new in up in your part of the world?
No, I knew exactly when I saw the date on the calendar that you were going to be showing some Star Wars. So I honestly would have been disappointed if you didn't.
I gotta do some Star Wars, man. So
Yeah.
you want to get straight up into like the show and tell part, or talk about your adventures, or well, how do you want to proceed?
No, I mean officially retired from the Coast Guard. That was pretty cool. But then like for me, like especially like as a fan and for the hobby, the Cardinals did their Hall of Fame and Museum announcement. So that I really geeked up for that. Did a video like 30 minutes after I heard who got in and and what have you. So, but that's that's pretty much the excitement for me going on right now.
Well, then I think you did was it the Yadi run, right? That was a
Oh yeah, yeah,
big
yeah.
moment.
Yeah, that was pretty epic, finally getting that collection done and I've looked at it several times since then. It's pretty amazing. So I love it. I'm so glad I did that.
Well, I'm gonna link that episode where you celebrated in style with the family. I'm gonna put that in the show notes because, man, I mean, there's no greater way to celebrate than that, man. You're in the backyard, and I'll leave it at that, man. It's greatness.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, let's do some show and tell. And so, one of the cards I acquired recently is of a guy that I've been collecting for a while since he came to the MLB back in '95. Uh, that would be none other than this Hideo Nomo guy.
Yeah.
And
You
so for
talked about him
me,
last time we were on together.
yeah, man, I mean, I'm trying to get all of his rookie cards from '95. And so this is another one on the list. This is an Upper Deck. I guess it's a Predictor Challenge
Yep.
card that wasn't redeemed. Or maybe this one was. This one must have been redeemed, but it's still, for me, a pretty cool looking card.
Yeah, they did a lot of those redemption type of cards back in the 90s. Collector's Choice, Pinnacle, and like Crash the Game, and there was like pin redemptions. Pretty cool stuff.
Dude, it topped gold. Apparently, Topps was in on this action with redemptions too. So,
Yeah,
man,
yeah, back in
and black
92.
gold too. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first one I have, because I had fun with it last time we did this, but you and your buddy Patrick do the birthdays.
Yes, sir.
And so uh I have this team issue card of Ken Oberkfell. And it's kind of fitting too. So today's his birthday, May 4th. He's actually a local kid. The town next to where I live is called Maryville, Illinois, and that's where he's from. And so he's kind of like a hometown hero. He was on the 82 World Series team. And like I said, it's fitting because the Cardinals and Brewers are playing each other as we speak, actually. So, the Sud series continues, you know what I mean? That somewhat of a rivalry, but I had this card, so I thought it'd be kind of cool to do a birthday shout out for Ken Oberkfell.
How old is Ken turning?
I don't know.
That his
I did
birthday
not.
May 4th. Do you think he's over the age of 60?
Oh, for sure. You figure, he's at least in his 20s and 82. It's been over 40 years since then. So,
So maybe closer to 70 or 75 then.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Another card I picked, I wanted to show off going through cards is one that reminds me of current sensation Shohei Ohtani, and that'd be this
Mhm.
guy,
There
Babe
you go,
Ruth.
Babe Ruth.
One of those guys, he could pitch and hit as well.
Yep. I
And
was,
this is celebrating his 60th homer. So
yeah, I saw
familiar.
that card recently on another person's channel too. So that's pretty cool. It's from what, 61 or 62?
62, I believe.
Yeah, really cool stuff.
Sorry, 61 tops, number 401, baseball thrills. But, not picking up any like 1930s roots. So, and look at that grade, man. That is top dollar right there, man.
Yeah.
This one for a good 25 years before I got it graded myself. But I wanted to preserve the card because I like the card. So
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to show off, man.
Yeah, so it's funny because the Dodgers were just in town and Tani went 0 for 12 in the series.
Dude,
Um,
and now the pundits are like, "Hey, the sky's falling, and the bell cow of the hobby. You know, what's going to happen if you can't hit home runs? Is his market going to drop?" And I look, he's human. He's gonna have his
yeah,
peaks. He hasn't even got hot yet at the plate, so give it time, man.
yeah, it's funny you talk, you reference the market and stuff. So I actually pulled out this card to tie in with another item because I for the show and tell I want to show just like a few other things that I collect besides just cards, but how I prospect is with the flagship Topps card. And so this is the base Mason Wynn rookie card from 24. And you never know. Maybe one day he's already won a Gold Glove, and he becomes a longtime Cardinal fan
Right?
favorite, and potentially ends up in the Cardinals Hall of Fame and Museum one day. And this would be the card that I put in there, so that's how I prospect in today's players. Um, but why did I bring Mason Wynn out? Is I collect these scorecards. And so they're designed by Mike Wright, and he had been doing the scorecards from since 2003. This happened to be last year's, and that's the Redbird at short turning a double play. So that the position that Mason Wynn plays. Unfortunately, this may be the last Mike Wright designed scorecard because there is not one this year, which is very disappointing to me because I collect them every year. I got this portfolio thing and it's got all of them since '03. But
Did they say why or his?
oh no, there was just no announcement. Usually before the season starts, there's a thing on the news about this year's design, and I noticed that that did not occur. And I know some guys that went to opening day and they said they sent me a picture of what the scorecard is, and it's just like it doesn't look bad, but it's not that. You know what I mean? Like so
It's
who
not a.
knows that
It's
maybe
not art that you're accustomed to.
yeah, maybe the collection is complete. Who knows? We'll see next year, but I enjoy collecting those scorecards. Like I said, since 2003, that also tied into when my dad retired from the Navy and I was starting to go to games. And so I was getting the scorecards, and then it's just something that continued to go on because I like the designs that he does. So collect
Interesting.
scorecards.
Right. Yeah. How about from like World Series seasons, like the '82 you mentioned? Do you have a scorecard from that season?
No, no, they're in the 50s and 60s they had some really nice designed scorecards, and that's just it. Mike Wrights are very much like those kind of things, artistic renditions. And then when they went to more photographic ones, I mean, they're neat, don't get me wrong, but they just don't there's not a spark there for me to collect them.
Right. That type of creativity doesn't show through like the older ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
All right, man. Well, hey, to round out my show and tell, and again, May 4th, Star Wars, got to go with this guy. Like Luke Skywalker, like Luke Skywalker, like Luke Skywalker, right? And Wonder Bread, like two great. It's a food issue card, and
Okay.
yeah, so get them in the loaf of bread back in the day, and there's I believe 16 of these cards, I believe, in the set, and so my goal is to get them all in sevens.
Okay. Where are you at with that?
I'm still like three or four shy.
Okay, so you're
But
close.
yeah, yeah. I mean, these are ones that I've submitted over the years, but a couple of them came back a little bit lower grades. I'm like beholden to the grade. Yeah, me and the seven. But I'm going to do the SGC route because I think they look great in a tux. So I'd like to get them all up there on display and do a little tabletop showcase when it's done. But I'm still working on the project, and it's no rush. You know,
Yeah.
card by card.
Because what year is that?
This came out in '77.
Yeah, so they've been around since '77. I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And, I mean, and they're not tens. Seven's a pretty affordable grade. So, like I said, when I see them at a price point I like, then I go and acquire the cards I need.
So I'll show just a couple things. I'll be fairly quick. This right here, Whitey Herzog bobblehead.
Dude,
So
that is
I collect
cool.
bobbleheads and whatnot. So my wife went yard sailing this past weekend, and so she picked me this up. And what's cool is, so this is from 2010 when he was inducted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. But when I took it out, and this plaque is removable, I looked at it and it's autographed.
Dude, that is awesome.
You know, my wife got that for $5 at a yard sale.
Winning. The missus took care of you. Winning.
Yeah. I'll make this really quick. Your last video you did with your buddy Patrick, once again, I'll bring him up. He was showing a bunch of 85 cards, so I figure I'd show off this page. And it's the flagship card, the Tiffany, the O-Pee-Chee, and then an autograph copy of my guy Ozzie Smith.
So you got the full rainbow there, right?
Yeah, I guess it
On
could be
autograph,
considered
a
like an 80s
Yadi
rainbow.
Topps. Yeah.
There is a super that's like a 5x7-ish. I didn't bring that out because it doesn't fit in the page, but um yeah, so that's my show and tell.
Dude, hey, I love it whenever you bust out some Ozzie Smith, man. That's greatness.
Yeah, and I noticed the bobbleheads behind you too, so that was kind
Yeah,
of cool
the
to
Rangers Day, and yeah, I'll have
yeah.
to show those off, man. Yeah, at a later date, I'll do some bobblehead action with you, man.
I got a whole bunch, so
Yeah, I can see behind you too, man. We are
yeah.
really nerding out, John. Time to nerd out, man. So,
Yeah.
well, let's start out with some content that I think CardBlitz viewers and YouTubers in general would appreciate, and that's like things that we love about this hobby. Like, what is it that like makes you, when you reflect on the hobby, say, "Man, this is what I'm enjoying right now."
So what I'm enjoying right now, and this has gone on for maybe a year or two, is combining books with cards with collecting, right? So um it could be one leads to the other kind of thing or vice versa. It's you get a book to learn more about a player, which inspires collecting more cards, or you start collecting cards and then or you stumble upon cards and it leads to wanting to learn more about the player. So then you go and get a book, and it's just like a symbiotic relationship, you know. So I've read books on, the 1964 Cardinals, Ken Boyer, Bob Feller, Yadier Molina. I got a book on the 1957 Braves that I want to read. I just read a book about Nolan Ryan. Um, I have a book for new, they just announced for the Cardinals Hall of Fame and Museum, Bill Sherdell. He was on the 1926 team, all-time winningest left-hander in Cardinals history, and there's a book on him. So, not a very celebrated player, but now I got this book that I can read, which led to a card purchase, like those kind of things. I've had a lot of fun combining books and baseball cards.
Man, that is like throwback there, like reading books on like actual paper textbooks. Man, that is awesome.
Yeah, I can't do the
Matt
Kindle
Gavin
thing.
just talked about this over at Straight Race Cards. He did a top 10 video on books. So
Yep.
interesting, like you and him thinking a lot alike on that.
Yeah, and I'm not the only one that does it, of course. You know what I mean? And that's one of the cool things, though, is there's other people that are doing this and they're recommending books. Yeah, I read a book on Cool Papa Bell, and I picked up a couple of his, well, modern cards, yes, but still
Cards of,
cards.
yeah.
But I learned of more players through that book, and so I got their cards too. You know, it's really cool. And then there's so many books out there, and so then when Matt does a video and you learn of more books. And then you start to get backlogged because there's a whole bunch that you want to read, you know what I mean? So,
And apparently, having a job, being a dad, being a husband, yeah, your time gets more and more. I guess you get stretched, and time becomes like more and more essential. And it's trying to find those 15-20 minute spots where you can take in a few pages.
yeah.
Hey, for me, I think I'd have to go with the fact that the hobby it it's growing, and so like I welcome. like the TCG part and like the fact that people just don't think like, oh, hey, cards, that was for like little kids back in the day. It's more widely accepted. And so that's something I really appreciate about year 2026 compared to like year 1982. Like
Yeah.
the hobby's really grown and that makes me happy. I enjoy seeing the growth of it and seeing that it's on ESPN, when a big card's there on their website or perhaps on the different news channels when Mr. Wonderful's like spending $13 million or the fact that like I said, you go to a baseball game, people are ripping packs at the game. That's something when I grew up, I didn't see people opening wax packs at a baseball game, but
Yeah.
now it's kind of common. And so that to me is very cool.
Yeah, and one of the things when I think of that, it's not so much the new stuff, and it's the fact that it keeps the hobby relevant. And so for like the already printed, more so low-hanging fruit, it keeps that stuff available for us to buy. So when you learn of something, it's available for you instead of unavailable. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, there's more outlets and that drives more collectors into the hobby, which keeps it top of mind and accepted in general. So again, it's a hobby for me.
Yep.
So I enjoy the hobby and seeing it grow as a hobby.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think a thing that I am enjoying kind of ties into that, and like my point is just like between information, which there's a ton of information out there, so it's not as simple as just like searching and finding, but you have mediums like this and dorks like us that want to talk about cards, and so then you learn of other stuff, and it sparks and generates like new collection scopes, and based on all that, which ties back into, like I said, learning and reading and stuff about players themselves, the teams. So it's just there's so many ways to go about, you know, how you collect players, how you collect teams, how you collect sports, and there's always something new to do. You know what I mean? And then the information to help guide you on those new things, the accessibility to those cards, I think is outstanding.
Well, you kind of took one of the things I was thinking about, which is the card community aspect, the YouTube aspect, and
Mm,
like, for folks that grew up, I guess, born in this century and grew up in this century, this might be more commonplace, but if you look back to now, like, no, you're no longer on an island. You're no longer, like, just being like hidden up in a cave. You're actually able to communicate, leave messages. Think about it. Through YouTube, you and I have been able to do several of these episodes now, and I feel like, the rapport is building, the genuine friendships building, and it takes time, but at least,
yep.
in this century, this medium, it allows us to communicate and to foster knowledge and growth.
Yeah, because I mean, I think it kind of takes you back to your childhood, right? Because like I remember when I was a kid, and down the street there was a kid that collected Cal Ripken Jr. I collected Ozzie Smith. So we didn't do a whole lot of trading, but we always had like our cards out and comparing and contrasting. And it's kind of funny to think about 9 and 10-year-olds arguing about who's the better shortstop, but um, like that kind of stuff. And then it all goes away. Some of us continue to collect, but then it very much is by yourself. Um, and so it just kind of takes you back to that time. You know what I mean?
Definitely, and that's why we're doing this. Seeking fellowship, we're seeking,
Yeah.
being challenged and pushing yourselves to grow your collection and do your collection your way, but still getting ideas and being able to cheer each other on.
Yeah. And I think the last thing I'll point out is just like it's so much cooler doing this hobby when you have like real money, like you have a real job. And so not that I'm not buying super expensive cards, but the fact that I can just stay engaged, by buying a $2, $3 card, but you know what I mean? It's I can do this. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that makes it kind
It
of
isn't
fun.
always the price of the card, but it's the fact that you are still active and you're going through your own collection, but you're also saying, hey, if I have a couple of discretionary dollars and I want to spend them here, I
Yep.
can.
Yeah. So it definitely makes it more fun when you can buy more cards. You know what I mean?
Well, I'd say for me, this whole age of technology and having access to so much information, and whether it be on YouTube and being entertained and learning, or just through the internet, like it's at your fingertips now. And so
Mhm.
much info makes for me like, card collecting a lot more enjoyable experience compared to like, hey, you're got one source of knowledge, a monthly magazine being sent in, or going to your card shop. So again, I really enjoy the hobby right now with the way we communicate socially, and then websites and through YouTube
Mhm.
videos. I, for me, it's a joy. And it
Oh yeah.
feels like, I just see it growing and getting better.
Yeah. I mean, and doing this YouTube thing, like from a selfish point of view, is like I didn't do one this last weekend, but doing those Ozzie Smith videos, I'm learning more about these cards. I'm looking at these cards all the time. And it makes it more fun, you know what I mean? So,
Right. Let me ask you this, kind of segueing into the next topic. And
mhm.
growing up last century compared to this century, do you think like do you reflect back and just kind of marvel at the way things have changed? Do you ever think about, oh, back in the when I was a kid, back in the day versus this is how I collect now as an adult?
How I collect now as an adult versus a kid, it goes back into points that we've already said. We got more information and if you're lucky, you have more money. So, um, you know, I don't remember card shows being a big thing when I was a kid. Like there was every once in a while there might have been one at the local mall. Now there's card shows all the time, but even even 10 years ago, card shows wasn't a big thing. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Um, I remember there being like card shops, but then I also remember card shops closing, and now they're booming again. That's as far as like collecting now versus then, but as far as like products go, the hobby's always evolving. So this is just we're in a current evolution, and there's going to be another one and another one, So I think it's more or less fascinating to see the differences between the different generations.
Well, I kind of mentioned, the paper product as far as like waiting for your monthly Beckett magazine, or
Hmm.
finding a tough stuff, or
Yeah.
on cards and pricing, and versus fingertips and cell phones and
Hmm.
laptop computers. And so the information age is upon us, but also the way we share information, um, way different than when I was a kid, where it's like, yeah, you and the neighborhood kids might have talked, had maybe some parents or older siblings sharing information with you, but now you can just do the research yourself. But you're able to also find it quicker than,
Oh yeah.
last century.
Yeah, I remember when I found eBay in 2003. That was a big deal. Now it's just commonplace. You don't even think about it. It's just that avenue you take. You check it every day and like all those things, but to like trading card database, speaking of like information, I go on there all the time. Like I just started a new Ted Simmons collection. I went on there first to see like, okay, what am I getting into if I want to do this? And before it was just like you didn't even really know what was out there unless you got that big encyclopedia that they came out with once a year. And
Almanac.
yeah, if you managed to be able to flip through that entire thing, but you know, it's I think it's cool. We keep saying like the information age is upon us and the technology now. I think that's those statements have been said for the last 20 years, but it's just like the cards, it keeps on evolving too,
Yeah, but think
from
about it, man. I mean, let's say 1995. I don't know your age, but I assume you were a kid at some point, and then maybe you were a teenager by 95 collecting. But like the idea of like a breakers, that didn't exist.
oh yeah. I don't know a whole lot about that realm of the
Neither,
hobby. I know
neither do
people
I.
don't
I just
like
hear
it.
about it, man. But
Yeah, I hear about it, but I don't know. I cannot speak to it, right? But yeah, I remember the
but we're
dial
aware it
up.
exists.
Yeah, but yeah, I remember dial up and all those things, and but it's it's evolved to the point where it's remember when BlackBerries you were that was like a status symbol if you had a BlackBerry, right? Even still, its capabilities were pretty crude compared to now. And now it's just like homeless people have iPhones. So it's like, it's pretty well insane the the speed and availability for sure compared to this time 10 and 20 years ago.
You had many companies manufacturing cards. Now we've got one. So that's a big change. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, it's just kind of it's funny how it's almost going back in time. That's how Topps and Bowman were. But instead of Players Association, because that did not exist, it was per player contracts, and that's why you had what you had, right? Between
Hmm.
the two sets. Um, it's it's just the way that it is. You know what I mean? Um, there's basically the one major manufacturer, but they come out with so many different sets and so many different ways to collect within that one manufacturer. It's almost like it oddly enough, it's there's more to collect now than there was then in some respects, you know. Um, we fear that it without the competition it's going to drive down the quality, but I mean, look at some of these cards. They're pretty, spiffy, you know what I mean?
Oh,
I
definitely.
like I liked the older, the 80s, 90s, early 2000s like dynamics, you know what I mean? I like the different sets and everything, the different designs, the different themes. Um, but it got to a point where uh, was that competition good for the consumer? Because it was such rapid acceleration, one company trying to outdo the other, outdo the other, outdo the other, to where a lot of that product got to be unreachable too. We're having the same discussions now that we had back then. Are kids priced out of the hobby? Are we priced out of the hobby because of these products? And, so it's the more things are different, the more they stay the same. You know what I mean? It's just licenses are it is what it is kind of deal. And it's just this current era of collecting. I like the Ozzie Smith era for sure. That's a lot of fun to collect, and
Well,
I
I was
think I
thinking about
prefer
though,
collecting it more than the newer stuff. Yes.
but John, one of the things that you mentioned, like the Ozzie Smith era, um, the unlicensed product versus the licensed product. Do you
Yeah.
feel like again, you got a plethora of unlicensed items to go after versus now, so I don't know, man. It's definitely a different era than back in the 90s or even the mid 80s.
Yeah, but honestly, the one thing that I do not like is the artificial scarcity. The one of ones, the five of fives, things like that. Like, I am very happy that Ozzie Smith retired before that got insane. I'm personally not a fan of that.
Right. So like the four cards you showed today from the 85 set, that
Mhm.
rainbow, and you're like, hey, I'm done. I'm good. I'm set. Moving on. Next item.
Yeah, the Tiffany, I forget the different because the numbers are different from year to year. But there was what, 10,000 of them made or something like that. It's one of those things like you can get it if you want it. You know what I mean? But the just the artificial scarcity stuff, I'm personally not a huge fan of that. Yeah, I collected the Yadi Gold cards, but I also collect the Ozzie Smith Gold cards. And those are two different products when you think about it. But like I said, it's just this era. So you go back and back and back. Each era is different in of itself. And we're going to look back at this one in 10, 20 years and, say we're going to be saying the same thing, I think, 20
Well,
years from now.
John, one of the things I think of, from back then and now, back then when you had all those different manufacturers and each one's doing like different tiers of sets, um, like people like they collected like massive collections, like gotta have it
Hmm.
all. Now it seems like today's hobby is a more of a minimalist approach of, hey, I just want a few grails or a few high dollar cards. To me that's a big
Yeah,
shift. That's a mindset. And that is that hobby collector versus hobby like collector investor. So that's something else I was gonna bring
yeah.
up.
I mean, cards have always had value. There's always been people selling cards, right? That's how we bought them. Uh, it does affect how I collect players, yes. Like I cannot collect Yadi or Molina the way that I collect Ozzie Smith. Um, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I don't know, like it'll be funny to see in 20 years if we're saying, "Oh, back in the 2020s, that was so much better than today." And you know what I mean?
And what about the Zion cases? What about the rolling cards? Like that whole
Yeah.
trend.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, as we kind of wind down and close out, let me just throw a off the wall question to you for the Card Blitz viewers. You throw one to me, and then we'll wrap it up and call it a show. How's that sound?
Okay.
All right, John. So here's my off the wall, out there question. When you're in your vehicle and you're on a nice little road trip, what are you listening to? Let's say it's a 3 hour road trip. You're not gonna be stopping to take bathroom breaks or anything. You're just driving for 3 hours. What are you playing? What are you listening to in
Oh.
your ride?
So I would say it depends. If there's a ball game going on, I will have a ball game on. And that's just it. You talk about 3 hours, so now the distance matters, right? Because of the way that we can stream and everything like that, you're not worried about the radio station going out and trying to find another one. So the ball game can stay because you're streaming the radio broadcast. But typically when I'm driving, I'm like an old man. There's nothing on.
You're serious. You're just
You
listening to
know,
the
maybe
engine.
sports radio, but yeah, I just kind of go, just it's just stress-free, relaxing if I can. Because like I said, the distance matters. So like eventually my local, 101 ESPN radio is going to give out and I'm not gonna be able to find it again. You know what I'm saying? So, but like I said, a lot of times I just don't listen to anything. So it's
The vehicle, the road, and you're going.
yeah, yeah. I sound like an old man, but that's just kind of is what it is. I don't
Hey,
really
that's
listen to
why we're doing
music.
this. We're sharing. We're getting to know each other, and viewers to know you. So yeah, I thought I'd just throw that out there. See what you're doing.
Yeah, so shoot, I wasn't really prepared to ask a question.
Hey, it could be anything. Top of mind, family friendly. But yeah,
Yeah, no, of course. But the oh shoot. I apologize, Kelly. Um how about this? So you were talked about you're going after the Roger Staubach run, the Earl Campbell run and everything. Um have you started thinking about like are you going to go after another football player or are you transitioning to Hideo Nomo or do you do it like yeah, do you do it concurrently? Or you
yes,
try to finish one and
I,
then start
I,
the
I,
other?
I got like so many fingers and holes and everything in the dam, and in the world of the hobby, and it can overrun you. But yeah, no, I'll if I see a Roger Staubach, that I like at a certain price point, or Hideo Nomo raw cards, or another one I'm going to go after is Joe Namath. Like
Uh,
for me, he's a huge for me growing up, huge name in the hobby. Collector as a kid
yeah,
was Joe Namath. So, that 65 tops is going to be a pretty penny, but
yeah,
eventually, I'll acquire it. Just as a question of when. But I'm not in a rush. Just, I do a little here, a little bit there, and I enjoy the hunt and enjoy looking for cards and finding the best ones I can find at that I think is great and I can afford.
yeah. So I apologize for that. I'll come across as an idiot, but the follow-on question to that real quick, if we got time, is do you prefer to focus on this collection scope, or do you like to piece it out like over the course of a month, get one for this one, one for this one, one for that one, and then the next month? do it over again, and it kind of keeps all of those progressing incrementally.
That's a really good question. I find myself like working on sets, and then, like I said, I mean, I've got my searches on eBay, so
Hmm.
and I go to card shows. So yeah, when something like I said is the right price point, and I like the card, then I go and get it. But I'm
Yeah.
not just like, hey, I'm only working on, 1992 Topps football or 1983 Topps baseball. No, like I said, just a little here, a little there, just kind of, I don't know. I get really excited, I guess, when I'm down to like 10 cards, 20
Yeah.
cards. And then I kind of focus in more. I'm like, let's finish this race.
Yeah. No, so I kind of thought of the question because doing that Isaac Bruce relic collection,
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
and one of the things that I've been doing is I limit myself to just one a month. So then that way I can't just go hog wild and then it just be over with kind of thing. It really kind of drags it out. And then because of that, I get something for this collection, something for that collection. And it kind of keeps myself engaged with where they're at and um, keeps them, fresh and relevant, so to speak.
No, savor it. It's a hobby, right? So
Yeah.
savor the moments and enjoy the cards, and that's what it is, man. It's a hobby. So I guess on that
Yep.
note, we'll wrap things up, John. But truly, man, I have enjoyed this. It's flown. We're recording on Star Wars Day. I'll probably get this out on YouTube on Friday when I get some time Friday night.
Hmm.
But definitely, man, I want to thank you again for being here, and I want to do this again. I had a blast.
Yeah, I'll be looking at birthdays and I'll stash a question next time.
Hey, you're rocking it, man. I just throwing things out there. So, uh, CardBlitz viewers, certainly want to say thank you all for watching. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Check out John nerding out with cards. I'll link his info up there too. He is an awesome man in the hobby.
So thanks, Kelly. You too.